Welcome back to the Trucks, Trails, and Tales YouTube channel. Back out here on the 39 Dodge Sedan. It's been probably about a week since I've worked on this thing. Just, like I always say, life gets in the way of living, working, and other stuff kind of takes priority, and, other priorities around this holiday season of Christmas. Sometimes you don't get to the stuff you have to, but that's real life, right? I'm not a YouTuber that gets paid to do this stuff, nor do I, work on a TV set like Chip Foose or any of those other guys that get paid to do this and are way more talented and skillful than I am. So, that's what happens in life. But despite the fact of not working on this thing for quite some time, I actually did get a lot done. I worked on this about a day last week, and maybe it was a day and a half or so. And I didn't film any of it because a lot of it was just very basic, small stuff that I didn't really think was worthwhile to put on camera, and I didn't really think anybody would have cared about it, just because it's a little tedious stuff that I probably wouldn't have filmed anyway. I would have just said, hey, I'm doing this, and then cut to the scene afterwards and been like, yep, it's done. So let's kind of recap what we've done here. And also to clarify why we did that, main reason is I felt kind of bogged down on sheet metal work on this thing. I mean, sheet metal work, if that's what you want to call it. We'll call it patch and holes to make this thing street legal by PA standards. Where I work, I do a lot of fabrication, especially now for some other stuff. So I don't generally do it every day, but we've been pretty heavy into it lately. And I just don't feel like coming home and fabricating after doing it all day most days. So it was starting to get stagnant, and I was kind of not wanting to work on this thing. So I decided to, kind of change course and do some small wins so that I could, feel like I was actually making progress and moving the needle on this project. First things first, I made a list, and as you can see, I crossed some things off on it. Don't mind my horrible writing. I promise I went to high school and actually graduated college, believe it or not, but you wouldn't know based off my handwriting. Few things that we've gone through, I guess the mainly evident one is that the taillights are now installed. And honestly, it completely improves the look of this car. Just 1,000%. Obviously, this guy has a black housing, and that one has a chrome with yellow or red painted little striped housing. I think I clarified this in one of the previous videos. I'm ultimately going to either make them both black or both chrome. It's money, right? These things were like $750 for the pair. And that was like actually searching the internet trying to find cheap ones. So we got them, they work, they're in there. I tested them on a battery and they at least light up. So that's a positive. So that was the main thing I did, because I figured it would improve the look from behind and make me be like, oh yeah, that's nice. Also, you kind of can't see it behind this seat, but I sanded this bumper and actually removed the, bumperette little Art Deco fancy pieces on it to kind of match the front. I might throw them back on as well as the front ones, but for right now, I just want to get them off and sand stuff. To make the bumper look, it doesn't really look presentable, and I just dropped a cord there. Hold up. Scared the crap out of socks. Those two things got done. That improved the look significantly, I think. It's still, rusty chrome, but I think it looks a little better. I actually got to loosen this bolt here to adjust this license plate mount. I adjusted it up and stole the license plate off the 86 just to make sure it works. So that way when we throw something on there, it doesn't look terrible. And it actually fits in like this little groove that holds the bottom of the license plate. And then, that's where it gets bolted in, which I think is a pretty cool design, because back then I think the license plates were a lot smaller. I don't know that for sure. But I was happy that bolt came loose, because that thing's pretty rusty, and I'll probably end up painting that at some point. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't want to take the whole thing apart because I'm worried it's not going to go back together. So I think we'll probably just leave it for now. Maybe spray it with like fluid film or something. Let's see. What else have we done on this old girl? Did I do anything in here? I feel like I did something inside. So up in here, there was the dimmer switch. I removed that. I didn't know if I'd be able to find another one, and it was kind of stuck with the flathead screws that hold it into the, I guess you'd call it the floor pan. Those flathead screws were never coming out, just all the rust over the years and stuff screwed it over. So I just kind of cut that. We're rewiring this car anyway, and you can find one on I think it's some restoration website for like $10. So we're just gonna replace that completely, because that one probably didn't work anyway. That was done. I started studying this linkage here. As you can see, the clutch doesn't really like to return super well. Well, actually, it's gonna make a fool of me, because now it is. See, once it gets down to a certain point, I think there's grease points on these pivots. I'm gonna have to take that master cylinder off at some point to rebuild it. I actually ordered a bunch of parts to do brakes and stuff. I still need to order brake lines and then shoes for the front and brake hoses and stuff. But I got wheel cylinder rebuild kits and a master cylinder rebuild kit because the regular ones are super expensive, or just buying the master cylinder and wheel cylinder is expensive. So I'm hoping I can rebuild those. It's worth a shot to take a risk on. I kind of just studied how this emergency brake works, which it isn't really that hard. And it seems like it's adjusted half decent, but we'll probably adjust it again once the car is ready to go. Just to make sure it holds itself while it's stopped, because that would be not fun to have it pop out of gear. I've continually lubed up this shifter in here. Hopefully you can see it, maybe-ish. It definitely works a lot better now. Sometimes when you go to like put it into reverse and first, it kind of gets sticky. I don't know why that is, but after you work it free, it's fine. I think she just needs driven, to be honest with you. And honestly, probably somewhere in that linkage or up there in the, what do you call it? I'm guessing where it moves to the steering wheel, there might be rust all up in there. So that could be where that's from. But so it moves pretty good. I'm happy about that. It's in neutral now. Let's see, what else did we do on this old girl? I don't think there's anything else done in the interior. Yeah, no, nothing else was done in here. So let's move out to the outside. I think in the engine bay is where I've done a lot more work. Pop both of these open so that I can get a good view. As you can see up here, oh, I wanted that one. I sanded that bumper before too. That's why I kind of want to take those things off to make it match. So they both kind of looked, because like the chrome flaking coming off kind of gets like really rough and you can cut yourself and stuff on it. And I really don't want to do that. So down here, carburetor came off. Obviously this vacuum, I'm assuming this is a vacuum advance line for the carb that I took off. That came off really nice. I have it sitting over on the bench because I need to buy a rebuild kit for that. I took the wiring off of this automatic choke, and I honestly almost took the automatic choke off, but I think it has a gasket that seals to, I guess you'd call it the, is that the exhaust manifold? Yeah, that's the exhaust manifold. I didn't have the linkage for this. I could probably make one, but I really didn't want to. I don't really like automatic chokes, to be honest with you. I don't think they give you enough control. In manual chokes, you can kind of mess with stuff depending on how cold the temperature is and stuff. So I removed the wiring for that, which was obviously chewed through, but I didn't take it off completely because there's a gasket under there. Yeah, I just didn't really want to deal with making a plate and patching that and then not sealing and it being a pain in the rear. But if we do see if that works, whenever we start this thing up, I may actually try to make a linkage and try to make the automatic work, just see if it works half decently. I don't know if it does or not. I really don't care. Like I said, I'm gonna put a manual choke cable on anyway. I probably already shared this, but I observed that this hose here is like all cracked and stuff. So wasn't gonna buy rad hoses, but that one probably needs one just because it's kind of cracking on there. So because of that, I ended up buying the gaskets for this guy and this guy. I'm probably not gonna take this off because those bolts look pretty freaking old. So I'll probably just take the thermostat housing off to replace that, which probably isn't a bad thing because it'll let me see if the thermostat's half decent or not. Throttle linkage, I took that off as well. As you can see, there's a little pivot point over there, and then there's another one down over on the other side. I took those off because I really don't want to run the stock throttle setup. They actually make like, I guess it would be Jegs, Summit, all those companies make a gas pedal I think would fit perfect for this old gal that's like goes through the floor pedal and then you run a throttle cable too, and I'll find a way to hack one of those with some angle iron and stuff into like the head bolts maybe, I don't know. They're the head studs, and find a way to mount something to make that bracketry all work. So that'll be fun. Let's see. So yeah, down there's no more throttle stuff, so that's awesome. Yeah, I'm happy about that. The steering, if you can see, and hopefully the camera doesn't mess up, that was all covered in grease. And I cleaned up the top of it because I wanted to see, I've heard about people saying that these leak pretty bad, and I wanted to see if this one had or hadn't, because apparently a trick to these, which I've read, I've never tried it myself, I'm just going off people by the internet, which I know isn't really the best thing to do. Hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna tilt the head down a little more. But they said that you can fill that with corn head grease, which I'm guessing, I'm not even gonna pretend to know what it is. I'm guessing it's something that greases a combine. I could be wrong, I don't know, but they say it's like a very viscous grease. That way you don't have to worry about it leaking past the seals and stuff on there. But I popped that fill plug off of there and it still had a ton of oil in it. So at least for now it's fine. That's something I can check off the list so I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, that was nice. Something actually went right on this project. I just almost slipped and fell. So that was fun. I think that's it. I also organized a lot of parts. Oh, I converted the rust that was underneath the taillights because there was like a lot of stuff rusting out on there. I wanted to do that because, you know, hopefully it saves those fenders as long as possible. We can do some metal work on them if we ever need to, though, to get them to work, or know somebody, find somebody that does decent metal work. I got this mounted. I just ran a bolt and like an aluminum spacer in there, and I just painted over where this was kind of like dinged up. It's not perfect. I'm trying to pound it like even-ish, and it's not really, but it's fine. And just painted the rust there with the rust converter to make it look half decent. I don't really care. It's not that important to me. I obviously installed the taillights. I acquired a fuel tank. I also ordered a sending unit because I pulled the old sending unit out of the old tank that's sitting back in one of my trucks in the backyard, and it is junk. If you could put a new float on them, I'd just throw a new float on it, but yeah, I'm not even sure it's gonna work. It kind of sticks real bad and stuff, so probably not that. Obviously you don't have to use the corn head grease stuff. And yeah, so this list is what I'm gonna go through to try to make sure we get this project done. So today, one thing I think to motivate me is we'll get this up on blocks and we'll start getting the wheels prepped and ready to be painted. I'm not moving this until after we start driving this. Are you a chicken? Was that a cacaw? So yeah, I'm gonna start by getting this up on blocks. I may have to cut some wood to not have stuff resting on like just bare blocks. But I think we'll put those two ones in the front, the smaller ones in the front, and then put the bigger ones in the rear. That way we're off the ground, protected, ready to go, and can yeah, start restoring these wheels and tires. So I'm gonna start working on that, and I'll bring you guys back in once I have success. All right, well, we got the front nice and short up here. It's not ideal. I tried, let's see if we can get in here. I tried shorting it up on the middle of that control arm, but it just wanted to slide. Didn't want to do it on the frame because that's where I was jacking, but I managed to find these little like mount pieces, and they're digging into some 2x6s. So it's kind of angled a little bit. Luckily, I didn't catch the sway bar link, but it's not ideal, but I mean, this car is light enough that it'll just hold it on there. So yeah, if it gives me any issues here, maybe we'll just go to the frame and add some more wood. But I didn't have to cut up my good 4x4. Yeah, my good, what would you call that? My master cylinder bleeder tool. Yeah, that's what we'll go with. Anyways, yeah, so that's nice. The front's all up, ready to go. Now we'll do the back and get that on blocks. Here's the, those front two tires. Like I said, this high miler one, the Bridgestone BF Goodrich one's actually pretty decent. This one's clapped though. We could, did you just dance? Nice dance. We could probably reuse this one, but it's got some weather checking. This one, no, definitely not being reused. Oh, the tube still holds there because it was flat whenever we got it. It's funny, I actually kind of want to try something real quick. I've never really tried on these tires. I'm assuming these are probably slightly stuck to the bead because they've been like that for so long. But we're gonna film it right here, right now. First take, no retries. We're actually gonna see, I'm guessing this is just the standard, like, here, you know what, let me do this. I'm holding on to this, it's not on my head right now, so apologies for the really crappy camera work. We're gonna pull that valve core out of there and see how hard it is for this thing to just come off the bead. Did I get it? Oh, that I don't want to shoot it across the shop here. Not that I'm reusing this tube anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And is it gonna shoot? Are you stuck in there? Is there any air in here at all? Is anybody even listening to me anymore? Does anybody even care? There we go. Oh, there must not have been a whole lot of air in that thing. Oh, wait, she's on there. Alright, so I failed. It actually doesn't just come off. It might actually if it's like a newer tire. But obviously this isn't a newer tire. This thing's probably been on there since, well, I don't even think they did coated tires whenever this thing was put on there. So we probably aren't going to be able to figure that out. That freaking valve core still looks pretty decent though. Focus! There we go. That didn't focus, but... So yeah, we're going to have to somehow break the bead on these tires, which we got pickups outside and pieces of wood to do that, so I'm not really concerned about it. So yeah, that's a bummer, but those are off. I'll take the core out of that one, drain all the air out of it, and then we'll get to working on the back. Okay, so we're back. We got the rear up on blocks now. Well, lighting's probably not super good over here. It's probably a little bit later because, well, while I was doing this, I was trying to look at my placement. You can't see. But basically, they're sitting on the bottom of the U-bolts. Because if I tried to sit it on the middle of the axle, it would be super low, and I didn't really want to do that. So everything on this whole setup is precarious. But this car is probably decently light, I would imagine. I mean, look at those leaf springs. There's like nothing to them. So yeah, we're good to go. Rocket, no major issues. It is a little later now because while I was lowering it down, I was trying to look at the placement of the blocks, and well, parents, if you have kids, block their ears right now because they may not want to hear this. But I ended up smacking myself in the left nut with the jack handle. So I had to lay there for about 10 minutes writhing in pain before I finally decided to lay it down, and yeah, it all lined up correctly. So always watch where your jack handle is because it could hit you in the nether regions, and that doesn't feel too good. But yeah, well, the other tire's over there, but all the tires are off now. I'm going to go locate them somewhere, maybe like right here for now, just so they're out of the way. I'm not going to start messing with these today. As you can see, maybe from the lighting, there's a lot of rust and crud in the back of them, so I'll have to clean them out with like a wire brush and other stuff. But first, got to break the bead on them to get them off. So that's okay. That's another day. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a nicer day. But after we get those off of there, we can start prepping wheels. I may honestly just start prepping the other ones, just because they're all available and ready to go. So yeah, up on blocks, all's good there. Next order of business for today is, this is kind of an easy thing to chop off the list. We have a clutch cover here, and then the filler neck, and probably something else, some wiring. Oh, that bolt I think goes into there. Look how rusty the inside of that filler neck is. It's not going through anything, like it's fine, but like I don't really want to deal with the rustiness of that. And I'm fine with it being rusty, it's just I don't like the really chunky stuff that'll probably fall into the fuel tank and cause us issues. So one of the things I have on my list is to just get this thing all cleaned up. So I'm going to hit that with some various wire brushes and other things to get all of that, all the stalactites and stalagmites out of there. And so we don't have to worry about that going into our brand new fuel tank and messing things up. So yeah, like I said, super rusty. You can see it there. I'm going to go clean it up and see how it looks after that and bring you guys in. Took a stab at cleaning this guy out, and as you can see, oh, let me get the light just perfect. Where you at? There's still some rust down in there, as you can see, but nothing nearly as bad as it was. All that stuff is pretty much stuck on there. I ran a wire brush through there, then a wire brush on a drill, and whatever that is, it's staying in there. But yeah, it looks way better than it did, and I'm confident that's not going to leave a ton of junk down in the gas tank. So cross that off the list. That's another thing done. We'll leave that right there for a future date. I got new bump stops for the front of this old gal because let's go take a gander here. As you can see, those top ones are pretty well down. That one, it doesn't look bad, but maybe you can see. No, you can't really see because this doesn't focus worth a dang. It's cracked, so that thing's gonna pop out here sooner or later. So that's not good. So we'll replace that one. And then, well, let's see. There's that little washer looking thing right there is where the bottom one's supposed to be, and it ain't there. On the other side, it was just sitting on it, and so luckily it was still available, but yeah, it's not there on that side. On the other side still has a top one, but not a bottom one. So we'll go ahead and get those replaced here. Probably not going to show that either because that's not really anything too fancy. The only other thing is sometimes it pays to do research on old projects like this. The reason I say that is there's a lot of websites out there that sell vintage Mopar parts, and sure, they probably are the same thing as what this piece is, right? So this is, I think, a 2x2. It's 2 inches wide, or 2¼ inches wide by 2¼ inches like long, and it's conical, right? Somewhere around that. Anyways, they sell these things on like repop sites for 25 bucks a piece, which is just insane, right? Like, no, I'm not gonna buy a piece of rubber bushing for $25 a piece. That's just nuts. So that I'd have 100 bucks wrapped up in bump stops. Like, that's insane to me. So I took those measurements and found these guys, which are like a newer model thing. As you can see, these really aren't any different, other than obviously the main shape of them, but they're about the same height, about the same width. The one on the left might be a little less of a diameter, but they'll work just fine. I think these two together were, I don't know, 16 bucks. And then these guys that go on the top, they aren't the exact dimensions. I think they're a little bit shorter diameter, but the length is correct. They were like 10 bucks. So I have $25 total wrapped up in all 4 bushings instead of spending 100 on 4. So at a quarter of the price, are they not going to make some concourse restoration freaking guy happy? No, but this is not a concourse restoration. This is just get it running and driving. That'll vastly improve the damping, not damping, but just the ability of this thing not to want to chew itself up whenever it's, you know, flexed out because we're off-roading it because we have big old meaty lug Jeep tires on it because it's going to be an off-road warrior. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get those thrown on and show you guys what it looks like afterwards. All right, so we're back here. Pretty straightforward swap. As you can see, we have a brand new guy up here, all nice and tucked in there. And down there we have that little guy. Lighting work, there we go. Kind of adds a little Art Deco type feel to this car because that probably wouldn't have been like that. Well, it definitely wasn't like it because we had one, but yeah, new bump stops, so we won't be jarring our teeth out on this girl. It's, oh jeez, almost died. Don't worry about that toolbox sitting there, Seth. You can, you know, smack your head off stuff. It's all right. And then over here, there's that guy and that guy. So yeah, pretty easy swap. The only thing that was different, which must be the reason that the factory ones are $25 a piece, is there's kind of like, it's got like a square drive, kind of like a carriage bolt, and that allows it to stay in there. And they didn't use nylocks. I mean, I don't know, maybe nylocks weren't invented back then. I could be wrong. I've never really searched it. Someone fact check me and, you know, talk smack about me in the comments if they were. But yeah, that was really the only difference, is it had a square drive. The old ones had a square drive, and they used a lock washer and a 9/16, you know, nut. Well, the head was 9/16. What's that, like 3/8? Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? And yeah, so then the bottom one's like an 11/16 nut or whatever. But yeah, so that was the main difference. And honestly, it wasn't a big deal. You just grab a hold of the bump stop until it's tightened down with the impact, and then make sure it's on there half decent. So yeah. Another thing off the list. It's starting to get a little late tonight. And by late, I mean like 4 p.m. But Sam is making buffalo chicken pasta for dinner tonight, and I don't want to miss out on that. I think that's all we're gonna mostly do, except I want to remove the old battery cables. And I just lost the light that I had. You guys can probably search back and tell me where the heck I put it, because I forgot where I did. It's got to be somewhere around here. But yeah, I kind of wanted to zoom in and show you that, but now I gotta go find that somewhere. But yeah, there's a battery cable that grounds to the frame right here, and then there's another one that leads up to the starter. So I'm gonna yank both of those off right after I find my light. And yeah, you know, hold up, I'm gonna stop this and I'll bring you back in when I find that light. Well, this is why you always have designated spots for things, which I didn't even look back in the footage, but yeah, that's where it was. It was right, probably where I stuck it while I was too busy blabbing. Gosh, I'd lose my you-know-what if it wasn't attached to me. Anyways, yeah, so looking down in here, I reattached that ground cable and kind of cleaned some stuff up. So it's just attached to the frame, and that just goes over there. And then the other one that's kind of tucked-ish Let me get the better light. Tuck back in there. You can see that kind of clips to the frame in certain areas. There and right here. And that runs up through to the starter. I'm gonna take that off because I'm relocating the battery to the I'm relocating the battery to the battery tray. I'm relocating the battery to probably about, oh, there we go. Probably about right down in here. They make like universal battery mounts, and this seems like a really good spot to have one because it's out of the way of most things. It won't cover up the generator. And maybe because it's right next to the generator, that means I won't have to deal with this thing not charging. You know, maybe all the molecules will align and, you know, the flux capacitor will work and all that other stuff. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it'll be nicer to have that under there so it leaves one less access point for rodents and stuff to get into the car. But yeah, so I'm gonna remove those battery cables, get those out of the way so we don't have to worry about them. And then I'll just run new shorter battery cables up here, probably either ground one to the frame there, the engine, and then run just a short lead right there. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has something local to their, you know, wherever they live, but we have a radio station here that plays Christmas music 24/7 from like Thanksgiving-ish time frame to New Year's. But they have a program every night at like 5-ish, 5:30 called Christmas Fantasy, which is apparently like an old 60s like Christmas radio program, I guess is what you would call it. I don't know, that sounds about right. I absolutely love it, and it's perfect to listen to when you're working on this to kind of put yourself in that place, because unlike maybe some of you who watch this, I was born in 1994, which makes me 31, I guess, and I never got to experience any of this stuff, and by golly, I would have loved to, but, you know, so I guess I got to live vicariously through other things, but anyways, I digress. We ended up getting the battery cables taken out of here, so you can see, well, maybe not. The light's kind of dim, but there's nothing there anymore. Nothing up here. Those are all out. It's almost dinner time, so I'm gonna pop inside and eat some dinner. Probably not coming back out tonight. I think that's a good amount of work for today. Sometimes it's hard to work a ton and then you get burnt out and don't want to come out the next day. And I do want to come out tomorrow. Really not sure what I'm gonna work on yet. Maybe we'll try to break the bead on those wheels there, or those tires, so we can get those wheels off of there and start prepping all of them. Probably take the brake drums off, kind of clean them up a little bit, get all the crud off of them, paint them just because it'll look nice, I guess. I don't know, no one's gonna see it through the wheels, but yeah, and then I'll check the list in the morning, see what other stuff we can knock off. Like I said, wasn't too sexy today, work-wise, but hey, you know what? Any progress is good progress, and I'll take that. So, yeah, I guess we'll catch y'all tomorrow and continue working on this old hog. So we're inside right now, and I was curious about searching stuff for the debeating those tires, which I don't think they need debeated because obviously they're tube tight tires. I think they just have been on there for a while and, you know, need cleared off. So we're going to search through the Maintaining Dodge Dependability manual here. I already searched this up earlier because I was curious. I think it was 28. Is it 28 or 38? Yeah, here we go. The lighting kind of sucks in here, but changing wheels and tires, obviously it gives you a full description. I didn't realize also that apparently, according to this, the jack, it's not going to focus for a while, but the jack has to be placed off the bumper support, not the actual bumper itself. So yeah, that's good to know for the future. But right here, it says changing a tire, make sure all air is removed from the inner tube, loosen the casing from the rim if necessary by stepping on the sides as shown in the illustration. So you can see that right there. And in the photo, it shows a guy literally stepping on the sides of the casing with what appears to be loafers and dress pants and breaking that. I don't think we're gonna have that much luck, but we're gonna try that method and see how that works. If not, I think we're gonna try to use the bumper jack method and place it on it and try to remove it that way. So I feel like I've seen that somewhere. I don't know where it was, but yeah, we're gonna try to do that. We'll try jumping on it first in our penny loafers and then using the bumper jack. All right, so now we've transitioned to the garage. Here's the first tire. I got my assistant, I can see her creeping out of the corner of my eye coming to help me. So in theory, according to the manual, owner's manual, you should apparently be able to step on both sides of this and force that off of there. And we're not wearing penny loafers or anything like that. So I'm gonna try to jump up and down on this. And as you can see, that is not happening. The whistling is because we have the valve stem in there. So it's not that easy. I'm gonna assume that on this tire, it's probably even worse. Oops, sorry, the strap keeps getting in the way there because it is older. So we got our feet dug into there. As you can see, there should be no air getting back into the valve stem because, you know, it's out, so I'm not worried about that. Maybe if we go opposite? I know this camera works probably bad. No, it's not coming off of there. So those beads are stuck on. I'm gonna try something different first instead of using the jack. I have some tire spoons. I'm gonna see if I can force a spoon down in there and pry that off. So I'll be right back. So I grabbed the tire spoon and just precariously started jamming it in around this bead. And what I found was, oh, I might need two hands to do this. Hold on. I'm gonna set this right here to maybe get some audio. Probably won't get video with it, but that's whatever. But if I'm able to jam this into the bead here, listen to the sound. Do you hear that? It's kind of like a sticker coming loose. I think I'm able to get in there and jam this into the bead and break that bead connection all the way around. I actually did that on one part and just started going around actually kind of kicking it, but it didn't really work super well. So I'm just gonna continue to do that and see how that turns out, and hopefully that can get that bead loose. So I'll bring you back in whenever I'm done with hopefully both tires. Well, I thought I broke the bead loose with these spoons here, but apparently I didn't. I mean, it kind of came loose, but I don't know if the tires are just formed to where they don't want to come off because they're so old and junk. Like maybe if they were newer and it'd only been on there a few years as opposed to probably since God knows when, they'd be easier to come off. So I'm gonna try to run them over with a vehicle tire and see if that gets the bead kind of off of there, I guess. I don't know. I got the 95, which has a lot of weight on it. Maybe that'll do something. I can probably find a piece of wood, honestly, to set on there and break it off. So I'm gonna go try that and see what happens with one of them. So I'll bring you back after I'm done with that. All right, so you're probably not gonna be able to hear me because the 95's out here idling away. But sometimes all you need is a little ingenuity and weight. So I use this 4x4 from the garage that I didn't have to scrap yesterday. Thank goodness I didn't. And put it on the bead here and then backed over it with this behemoth of a pickup. And yeah, that did it. So I'm gonna continue to do this for the rest of the wheels and get those all beaded, and then we'll bring you back after that stuff. Well, after a lot of brute force, I managed to, well, not brute force, mechanical leverage via the 95. I was able to de-bead both sides of this BF Goodrich and that Lee tire. Yeah, sometimes it helps having that truck because it makes it really easy to get these off. Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to take these tires off. I got some soapy water, some spoons, and a hammer. I'm guessing they're dry rotted as all get out and are not going to want to come off. I'm not going to show you how to do this because, quite frankly, I don't really know how to do it. And I don't want you to watch me struggle through that. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of videos on the internet you can search up. Luckily, these are only 4-ply tires, so hopefully that means they're not stiff. But judging by the fact they look old, they're probably drier than, I don't know, an ancient mummy or something. So, yeah, I'll let you know when I get these off. Managed to not bend any rims. Kind of rashed a little bit of them when I set them on the front, but hey, that's the price of admission here. Sometimes you gotta, you know, make marks on stuff when you're doing it on your own. You don't take stuff to a tire shop and have them charge you money to put stuff on. But hey, that's okay. We're trying. If it doesn't work out, then we'll just take it to a tire shop and take these off. But so I'm gonna quit blabbing and get working on this because the dogs get groomed in like an hour. Well, their appointment is at 3. It's 12:30 now. I have till about 2 to do it, so an hour and a half to get these off. Let's see if I can do that. All right, well, that didn't take long at all. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Pardon me, here's the rim. Honestly, didn't really damage it at all. So that's nice. I think these 4-ply tires, I mean, obviously they're meant to be taken off pretty easily back then, as opposed to today where we have 12-ply tires and, you know, just wild stuff and really thin rubber band tires for 22-inch rims on your base model sedan. But whatever, I digress. Yeah, no, pretty easy to come off. The rim doesn't look that bad. Definitely a little bit of moisture right there around the valve stem, which is kind of weird. I don't know why that would be the case. I'll bring you in actually and show you instead of just looking at it myself. It looks fine though. I'm not really super concerned about that. I'll just clean that off a little bit, get it taken care of, and then convert it and make it last another however many, you know, 86 years or whatever. But let's see about this guy. So, oh yeah, it feels like the tube is just stuck to the tire. Hold on, let me see if I can rip this thing out of here. I'm gonna set you down real quick. Wow, that thing's been in there a while. You can tell by how stuck it is. Ugh. What's even funnier too is there's like a lot of corrosion inside there. Somehow water got past the tire. Well, you guys got to hear me grunting and making fun noises, so you're welcome for that. That type of entertainment's free here. There we go, there's the tube. Said a lot of moisture around, like, I guess where it would seat on the bead. Or like just inside of the bead. I don't know if somehow moisture got around the tire and did that. I don't know. I don't think that's a patch. That might be a patch. It's hard to tell. Those might be patches too. I don't know, maybe that's just markings on this tire. I've been there to put tires in motorcycles, but those kind of look like they could be patches in this. Also, this tire's junk. As I was breaking the bead on it, you could see, well, maybe you can see better there. Maybe not, but yeah, there's big cracks in it. You don't really see them until you, whew, I'm tired. You really don't see it till you start putting pressure on it, and then it definitely comes full circle. So, yeah, there's one done. I'm gonna start on the other one and hopefully get that out as easy as the other one was. So I'll bring you back in when that's done. Second one's out. As you can see, things kind of escalated quickly. If you're gonna be dumb, at least have all the right tools to manage stuff. I actually almost got this all the way off, but for some reason, at some point, I managed to push the tire inside instead of one side coming through one way and the other side coming out the other way. I don't know how I did that. Probably not paying attention, probably being dumb. So I was like, well, that's not good. So luckily I had the old Sawzall and the metal blade and just cut it off because quite frankly, I'm not using either of these tires. This one's in the worst shape of the two. And I'm probably gonna hang the other one, that guy up, because I think it looks cool and it's old and awesome. This one was all chunked up and crap, so it's pretty long in the tooth anyway, so it's not worth it. But so yeah, both the rims are off now. That's a positive. That was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. 30 minutes is not bad for taking two tires off, especially old dry rotted crappy ones. And they actually, you know, still feel like relatively supple-ish, I guess. Now the only downside with this is that these guys are 6-ply. And honestly, they don't feel much stiffer. And probably the fact that that rubber is so old and worn out, and these are like newer and supple, means that these will actually go on a little better. That's my hope. But I've said things before and it's gone completely wrong later on. So I'm gonna get these things all cleaned up and just set them out to dry. Whew, I'm tired. That was a workout. I guess I don't have to work out today. Just kidding, I got a hockey game tonight, so that's gonna make it even more fun. But anyways, yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna do for right now. I'll go inside, get showered, get the pups groomed, and then I might be back out here tonight. We'll see. Either way, it's a good enough time to let these things dry off and then assess that wheel condition later on. So we'll maybe see you tonight. If not, we'll see you in the next few days. All right, well, we're back out here in the garage. I think the last time I said something, I was gonna come out later. I think it was Sunday night, come out here and film some more, but I never did because I had a hockey game and I figured I'd just relax and wait for that. But anyways, there's the two tires and then a dump kitty right there. She's gonna make noise because she doesn't like when I'm talking. I don't know why. But yeah, so both those tires are off. Coming over here to the deep dark corners of the garage. Let me get a light on here real quick. All the wheels and tires are good. Looks like they're the Leaning Tower of Pisa right now, but that's all right. They seem to be holding each other up probably based on that little jack right there, but we're gonna take those down tomorrow and start cleaning them out, off, whatever, the whole gamut. I want to pressure wash them, just get all the dirt and grime off of them. And well, it's the middle of winter, it's, you know, early mid-December-ish. And it really doesn't, I really don't get home before it's dark out, and I don't have anywhere to pressure wash stuff in here, so we have to wait until the weekend to do that. So yeah, oh, I know, right? It sucks, doesn't it? So anyways, I know I have a determined amount of time to do that tomorrow because I have a hockey game tomorrow and I know it won't take all night. So I'm gonna wait till then to do that since I know it won't take super long, and then we'll pressure wash them come Saturday and hopefully start prepping them for paint. So yeah, that's not happening tonight. So what does that mean? Well, I kinda, now that I got this thing all on block, I know I ordered tie rod ends and I have them here, so that could be a good place to start. I'm not gonna film pretty much me taking them off because once again, like a lot of this stuff, it's not really super interesting, and I don't think people want to see me pounding on old tie rods with a hammer for like an hour. But anyways, it's just like any standard car setup. I mean, right here, you see you got your tie rod end right there. You can see the boot's completely wasted on that spindle. So you take that nut off, then in there you take that bottom nut off. Whack these with a hammer to separate the taper from the, I guess, mating taper, and then it'll come off. And as you can see on the other side, there's a longer link there. Maybe you can't see, I don't know. I don't know how well this camera shoots stuff, but yeah, there's another one over there. So I'm probably gonna have to, I really don't want to crawl underneath this thing, so I don't want it to kill me. I think it's pretty on there, pretty solid, but we'll try to remove this side first, and then knock that taper off in the middle here, and then go over to the other side and remove it off. So I'll bring you back in when we're done with that and show you what things look like. All right, well, we managed to get the old tie rods off. Took a little bit longer than I expected. The long one on the passenger side that actually goes to the, right where it hits the, I guess you would call it the steering gear, the steering arm, whatever, the little cast piece they all mount to, was a bear to get off. You really can't get any good body parts up into there, and yeah, it just was a pain, so that probably took me the longest, but they're both out. They're both right here. As you can see, that's the long one. And just to give a little comparison about how worn out these ball joints were, so this is a new one right here, or new by, you know, it's probably been sitting on a shelf for just as long as this car has been around. But look how easily that thing moves back and forth. Like, the boots are all torn on these, like they just kind of move very freely. Not a whole lot of, that one still got grease in it, if you can see that, despite the boot being all bunged up. But yeah, they're just, this one might be a little tighter than most of them, but they're all pretty bad. And this is a new one, barely freaking moves. There's grease in there. These don't have grease zerks in them, so there's a little dirt in there, so I'm probably gonna have to clean all these out. But you can see many years of dirt and grime have like messed up these clamps. This one doesn't have a clamp on it. An even cooler thing was, so look at this new one. You can see how it's like, hopefully you can get a good view of that. You see how it's all like a cast piece that's machined threads on there. I think it's cast, it looks cast. I don't know. Roast me in the comments if I'm wrong. I probably am wrong. I'm not really good at this stuff. But yeah, so it looks like a cast piece of steel, and then obviously the ball and socket is in there, blah, blah, yada, yada. Smooth surface right along the threads there. Check this out. This one is not like that, and this one you can't really see because it's covered and stuff, but someone tell me if I'm crazy, but somebody definitely welded that back together. Like 100% welded that back together. What's even more wild is every single one of these tie rod ends has a grease fitting and a clamp, but this one. So I'm kind of wondering if like this tie rod end snapped, it ruined the clamp, it ruined the grease fitting because it probably fell down and was dragging and the car like couldn't steer. So those all came out and someone was like, yeah, my buddy Craig, you know, he can get in there and weld that together. Don't worry about it. And then this ended up happening and somebody invariably drove it like that for how long, and nobody ever knew that there wasn't a grease fitting or a clamp on there, which the clamps really don't matter when it's in there as long as one of them's clamped, because it really can't go anywhere if one of them's clamped down. But yeah, I thought that was a cool little piece of history right there. It's like, hey, Yeah, somebody welded that at one point and fixed it for somebody, and they probably drove it for a little bit, and then this car ended up going out of commission and sat like that for a while. So good thing we're replacing these, because that would have been no bueno. But yeah, so I'm gonna work to get these all cleaned up here, get a lot of the gunk off of them, and start turning these old tie rod ends out of there. So I'll get them cleaned up, and then we'll whip one of these up in a vise and see if we can get these broke loose. So we're back. I got these semi cleaned up. And by cleaned up, I mean I really just cleaned up around the clamps so that I could get them loose and you know, see if any of these will turn. Luckily, it seems like they will. I don't know about this guy yet. We may have to break him off a little bit. What I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with this, what was it, welded one? Because it seems to be pretty stuck in there. It doesn't really want to go in there. Okay, maybe I'll do something different here. Hold on. We're gonna put the actual rod in the vise, and then we're gonna grab a pipe wrench. Here, this one says snap-on. I don't know where I got this from. I definitely didn't pay for it, because I would not pay for anything snap-on. So let's see if we can crank this on here. Oh, nope. Okay, that's not gonna work. Maybe if we do that, crank it down a little more, hold on to this end. Oh yeah, it really don't want to go anywhere. Let's take this guy out. Yeah, look at that. No problem. Still a little bit of grease in that guy, not a whole lot, but yeah, I would not trust that on any sort of road trip or anything like that. Good thing is I guess I can kind of count where the, you know, grease is all stacked up on it and be able to make a determination if that's how many turns it goes in. Oh my goodness, it's gonna take forever. Oh, I think that's the end. One more, come on now, come on now, come on now. All right, so there's one. Big win. Let's see. Grab a big one here. Now this is Pittsburgh brand, so you know this is gonna get this SOB off of here. Nope, maybe not. Oh, there we go. All right. We're making significant progress now. Yeah, I'd say that's definitely water. Look how freaking hacked that is. Hey, it held though. I mean, I can't knock it. Somebody did that and welded it. I mean, I guess that's the same threads. It probably was the same piece. They just welded it back on there and boogered it on there. It's pretty cool, but you can definitely see how like twisted it is. And bring in our other lucky contestant tonight. Will this guy come off pretty easy? Oh yeah, no big deal at all. Just dump all that stuff right in the old toolbox. It's just also funny too to see like how crude this stuff was. Like this is literally just a pipe with threads that kind of has slits drilled in it, and it just kind of goes down. Like it was simple. Then we turn into what we are nowadays, and everything's just got to be complex and a pain in the rear, and it has to be $8 billion or unobtainium because, you know, companies have to make money and make tons of money and profit and, you know, survive, which I'm not knocking it. Like, you got to be, in order for business to survive, they got to profit and make money. But sometimes I think the modern automotive world is just way crazy. And maybe it's always been like that. And maybe somewhere in my mind, I just reminisce that maybe there was a better time when it wasn't that bad. But it just seems like it's getting worse and worse nowadays. That's why I think I like the simple stuff, because you can generally find parts for it. I mean, not this. This thing, while simple, you can't really find parts for it just because it's so gosh darn old. I mean, there's plenty of people that are like aftermarket places like Mopar Pro and other stuff. I think Andy Birnbaum or whatever is the place I got a lot of the parts that are coming on Saturday. But like, yeah, there's stuff available, but not anywhere near like the volume of like an 86 Ford F-250 or an ABS Ford or square body Chevys or anything like that. You know, it's that stuff, just because people love them so much, you can generally find them pretty reproduction. And you know, if they're oh, going the wrong way with that. If they're high volume vehicles, then, and there's an increased demand for them, then people are obviously going to make parts so they can have businesses that profit and survive based off the stuff they make. It is what it is. We'll We'll suffer for it. I know, suffering in a 39 Dodge. So yeah, all this came out. It's great. What I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull one of these Zerk fittings out. 9/16, wrong. 1/2 inch, maybe. Wrong. 7/16. Where you at, dog? There we are. From what I saw on the internet, all of these should have 90-degree fittings. 90-degree grease fittings. Why? I don't know. Ooh, look at that, like, haggard grease in there. Wait. Let's set you down here. Let's get a little pick in there and see what we can dig out. Look at that stuff. Look at that all down in there. Wow, that's delicious. Ooh, it smells like old grease. Yum. So, now that I've made a fool of myself, like always, let's pull one of these guys out here. Hopefully y'all can see this. I'm trying to make it so you guys can see this stuff. I don't know if it actually works or not. Is this the same thread? Seems like it. All right. And then, do you fit in these guys? I am actually quite curious to see how long these boots on these guys last, because they're pretty haggard as well. So it may be a little hard to tell here, but I cleaned up all or as much gunk off of these tie rods as I could. Just use a little bit of sandpaper and a wire brush for some of the harder on stuff. I put the tie rods back on because I realized I can use them to hold this, and then I'm just going to paint the shafts with whatever black spray paint I have and set them aside. So that way, you know, it looks like we're actually restoring this thing, and it makes it look good when I go to get it inspected. Not really. It's not going to look good at all. So we got those all cleaned up, like I said. I ended up coming in here, flashing a little paint on them. So I just put one coat of whatever cheap black spray paint I had laying around. It doesn't have to look perfect, just makes it look a little better than it did. I marked the tie rod ends so that I know which ones go where, just with a paint pen. So yeah, that's all there is to do tonight. I have a few pieces of hardware here. I got these grease fittings, which I guess are the same thing, so I really only need one. But I'll probably just take both just instead. Oh, I didn't even show you guys that. I was just looking off and staring at my own. So these two grease fittings here, like I said, one's a straight fitting, one's a 90. I'll just probably get all 90s. I know Tractor Supply sells them. And then this is a bump stop bolt thingy majigger. I'm actually just gonna buy a bolt that's probably, I don't know, 2 inches in length, cut it, and then buy some nuts and then just jam nut it. And that'll be our new, not bump stop, steering limiter, whatever, blah, 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 yada, yada, thing, just so that, you know, it doesn't go slamming into the backing plate or whatever. So we'll see what Tractor Supply has. Other than that, like I said, I thought I was going to want to clean up wheels. But now that I'm thinking about it, that seems like a Thursday night project. I can come in and completely get these all finished tomorrow and thrown back in haphazardly. So I think we'll continue with that tomorrow since this went so well tonight. I honestly thought it might take longer just because I've been in there a long time. But it's not, so we're golden. So yeah, that's it for tonight. From me and the stretchy, sleepy dump kitty. Garage kitty, dump kitty, meow, meow, meow. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, which is going to be like a second for you. So we'll talk to you then. Goodbye and good night. All right, so we're back out here tonight, and I got a bag of goodies from the local Tractor Supply store. Looks like the paint on those tie rod, the actual tie rods, is pretty nice and smooth black. One coat. I don't care because it's probably going to get worn off anyway from me like adjusting them and stuff. However, there's a bigger dilemma here that I really hadn't considered until now. Well, I don't understand the part numbers on these guys, and the one thing that I did when I got these, I really didn't want to spend $70 on a tie rod from most major places, because that would have been, what, 140 times 2? It'd be $280 in tie rod ends, right? So it's crazy. When I bought a set of these ones for, I think it was like 17 bucks each, right? Now, when I bought these, they came in two part numbers. It was a 77R, and I think it's a 77L. So, I haven't verified this yet, so I'm just looking at it right now. That either means one of two things. One, these are both... So, let me go back a second here. The way tie rods work generally, and many of you may already know this, and you can call me dumb for explaining it, but that's okay, is this bar couples both ends. And what the ends do is when you adjust this bar, they go either inwards or outwards, right? So if you turn the bar one way, it pulls the threads in on both of them inwards. If you go out the other way, then the threads go out, right? In order to achieve that, you need one side that's right-hand thread and one side that's left-hand thread. That way, when you're adjusting it, you know, equal and opposite, you know, it adjusts. You're not sucking one side in while pulling the other side out and not adjusting it at all, right? So what I don't know for a fact is if the ones I got are all right-hand thread or all left-hand thread, or one's right-hand thread and one's left-hand thread, because I got a kit of them, which comes with two. And taking a preliminary look at them, it looks like the thread's opposite. So now that I have these out, we're gonna put grease zerks in them, see if they fit, because I don't know if the ones I got are the right thread pitch or not. It was the only thing that Tractor Supply had that looked close. If not, maybe able to tap it out to make them fit. Then we'll clean all the schmoo out of there, because I'm sure there's a ton of dust and stuff in there. Then we'll assemble them onto those and throw them back on the vehicle. So we'll see what's going on here, and I'll bring you guys back in when we're ready. One thing you guys will realize about me by now is that I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can figure things out generally in most cases. These were the grease fittings that I found at the old Tractor Supply store. And yesterday, I think I said I thought these were 1/4 inch threads. No, it's not even that. It's 1/8 inch PTF. And honestly, I just compared the old grease zerks against the ones that were on there and guessed. These ones definitely have a bit of a longer, like, I guess, threads on them. But hopefully you can see this, and I'm not just, you know, blankly doing this to a camera. But they fit in fantastically. Just like they were meant to be in there. So, yeah, if you ever have an old crappy Dodge car and you buy tie rods and they don't come with grease fittings, 1/8 inch PTF, I mean, you can get straight or 45. I just bought 45, so it's easier. Grease fittings are what fits in it. So I didn't waste money there because I would have had to open this anyway. I probably could have returned it. I don't know. But anyways, now they got plenty. Hopefully the rest of the car is like that because I can definitely use them. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull all these grease fittings out of these, and I'm going to shoot some brake clean. Like I said, hopefully you can see this. I don't know if the camera angle is right or not. But we're going to shoot some brake clean in there and just swirl it around a little bit and dump it out. Just see if we can get any of the, like, I mean, you can see maybe all the gunk and dust of just sitting that's been on these for them sitting for so long. So we'll do that. Then we'll throw some grease zerks in them, and then we'll throw them on those tie rods, and hopefully it's the right threads and things work out and all is beautiful. I'm not betting on it, but hey, you know what? We're all here to learn, and that's all that matters. So yeah, well, hopefully it'll work out. I'll bring you guys back in once I do that. So we're back. Here we are. They were all cleaned out. Grease zerks installed. There really wasn't any junk in them. One of them had, like, I'm sure it was old grease that kind of you know, kind of whatever materialized and got all dirty and stuff in there. So it's still a little dirt in it, but it's fine. It'll work its way in or out and crush into smaller dirt or whatever. We'll put fresh grease in all these, so it'll be fine. So the next thing I think I'm gonna do is take the old tie rod ends out of those. And then I guess since these are technically a set and they both are opposite threads, they only fit in each one way, so I can't possibly screw it up. Well, for once the parts god smiled upon me. I'm guessing these are both right, unless there was like a 76 R&L part number, but they're both 77 R&L part numbers and they both fit in there. So despite the angle and the little you know, change in them, I think they're gonna work. We'll roll with them. And if we have problems, we'll address them when that happens. But I'm leaving the clamps off them for now. I put a little anti-seize in there just to make it a little easier to adjust in the future whenever it's exposed to stuff. I need to buy another clamp because I only had... Oh, hi, kitty. But I need to buy another clamp because one of them was missing. But yeah, so that works out. Like I said, the parts god smiled upon me for once in my life. I have new cotter keys for these in this box. And I think this was a tube that was covering one of the threads that didn't get gold up. Unfortunately, this Toledo packaging is kind of screwed. So I'm probably not going to save that, but this Thompson product packaging that I love so much is going to be saved. I don't use this shelf a whole lot over here, and it'll look perfect right next to this mint McDonald's scraper. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. So before I throw these tie rods on, there's one other thing I wanted to do. Don't mind the tape on here. That was for me measuring stuff to make sure it would work out. But this was a steering stop that was on there. Half 20 thread. It's about 1 5/8-ish long. Maybe that'll focus, maybe not. But anyways, there's only one of these on the car. And what I did was I went to the local Tractor Supply when I bought grease zerks. And I bought half 20 by 2 grade 5 bolts. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim those bolts down to 1 5/8 length and then install them in there with either vice grips or something, and then have that GM nut on there so they can't come out. And that'll be our new steering stops. Is it perfect? Heck no. Is it gonna work? Probably. Will it break? We don't know. I wanna get them in first because right now, as you can see, as I walk over here, hopefully you can see, it's really easy to move this spindle around, so there's great access to it. What's also really nice too, and I know the lighting sucks, I'm sorry, but the kingpins in these actually feel pretty good. There's not a whole lot of play in them. They're not like flopping around or anything like that. So I think we're just gonna keep the same kingpins in there. Eventually I'll probably replace them, but like I said, this is a project I want to get on the road. And sometimes you don't get to replace things you want to, but we're making huge strides. So I'm gonna get those things fabbed up and I'll show you the final product when I'm done. All right, so I got the makeshift steering stops in. There's one, as you can see. It ain't pretty, it ain't perfect, but it works. This tie rod actually hits the wood block before it hits there, but there's about, I don't know, a 1/4 inch gap in there, and that seems like enough to prevent anything from hitting. We'll test it here in a little bit to make sure once I get those blocks removed out of there, but it's basically set the same as this guy right here. And as you can see, maybe when I turn it all the way, it hits there. It hits pretty solid and nothing underneath is causing any issues, so that's good. I wish the bolts were longer, but I couldn't get longer bolts at Tractor Supply, so it is what it is. Maybe I'll order longer 1/2 inch 20 thread bolts in the future and make them longer. That way they go more into the, I guess you would call it the little threaded female end there. But yeah, so that's knocked off the list. So here's the plan for this old girl. I don't really have one, but what I do know is I have all the nuts off these. I think I might start on this side and just try to keep the steering wheel as central as possible, which I don't know if it actually is or not. It's completely upside down, so that doesn't help. So let's do this. Let's turn it all to one way. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 turns. So that would be 2 1/4. So 1, 2 1/4. So that should be the midpoint of the steering wheel. So basically what I just did was count the number of turns till full lock, divided that in half, and that should put the steering box basically dead nut center with where it needs to be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first tie rod that's over here. I'm not going to show this on camera, but I'm going to adjust it to where it is probably makes this, well, first I'm going to attach to the steering box side, and then I'll adjust it to where it is basically, if it kind of looks like this is straight, right? That way it's, you know, this wheel's partially straight going forward. It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to have to align this by eye anyway and then get it aligned professionally. But just so that I can get that staying straight and this relatively straight is good enough for me. And then I obviously can be adjusted from there by me and someone professionally. So I'll start with this side because it's a smaller link. and then I'll go to the other side and make that guy there. Go in and then kind of get them like relatively lined up and back together, and it'll look great. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll show you that when I'm done. So here's what I meant by my previous thing. So you can see I got one of these tie rod ends installed. It looks really nice in there compared to most of the other junk, but what I did was I just tightened the castle nuts just with this ratchet right here, just enough so that they're snug. But if I can have more hands at once, maybe that'll help. So now that this is in there, you can turn this in or out to adjust how these rods push in or out or not. And that's why I left the clamps off it, so I was able to adjust it by hand. And I know the lighting is god awful, and I apologize. This isn't professional production, but yeah, so the steering wheel is still dead central. This wheel is not super-ish straight, but I'm turning it outward to push this, you know, spindle, hub, whatever, this way to return it more to center. Now I'm going back the other way a little bit. That looks decent enough to me. Now we'll check to make sure the steering wheel's still straight. Yeah, it's mostly straight. You couldn't really see that, but that's okay. You just gotta believe me. But yeah, so that's close enough for now. We'll be able to take some measurements when it's got new tires and it's on the ground. I'm not gonna clamp these yet because I really don't want to, because I need another clamp actually. This isn't gonna be sitting on anything for the time being, so that's fine. And I would also still like to be able to adjust them. So you're supposed to torque tie rod and nuts on when you're supposed to torque them when it's on the ground. I've never really followed that premise. You can, you can't, it really doesn't matter. I've never had any issues either way. I'm just gonna leave them just partially tightened for now, then we'll torque them down later on, maybe when it's like this, and then put the cotter pins in them. But so now that I have that side set, I can go ahead and put this other one in and basically do the same thing, and I'll bring you back in once I'm done. So we got everything installed here. As you can see, the steering wheel is straight up and down-ish, which was when I took it back from whatever it was, 4.5 turns full lock each way. I brought it back to, that was without any of the tie rods attached, so that goes to show you how many turns to lock it goes. So cut that in half, that's 2.25. So like I said, I got this guy installed in here. It's kind of hard to see because the lighting sucks because I don't have a good light out, but looks completely restored. All set up on that steering arm there. This is relatively, I mean, it's hard to tell on camera, but it's relatively straight-ish. Like I said, I'm going to have to hit this all with the tape whenever the tires are on it and make sure it's got a little toe in probably. This one, oh, light sucks, but it's about the same. That's all attached. It's attached over there as well. So that all looks real nice, shiny, next to junky other stuff. But yeah, so once again, I will have to go and torque those castle nuts down, put cotter keys in them, grease those, and also clamp them down once I get them in their final position, which I need another clamp, but that's another day's problem. So that's all done, ready to go. It's kind of what I want to get done for tonight. So like I said, I got a hockey game tonight, so I should probably get ready for that. But hopefully what we'll start doing tomorrow, since it's Wednesday now, be Thursday tomorrow. Friday, I probably won't get to work on this because that's getting drunk and eating pizza night for my family. But hopefully tomorrow night we can get in here and clean up as much rust off of these wheels as we can that are the leaning tower of wheels, and get them so that they're prepped and ready to go to be kind of like, I guess I'll hit them with like steel wool and then the pressure washer to get as much gunk off of them as possible. Then we can start rust converting them and start painting them and get them ready for wheels and tires. These hot mamma jammas over here, and yeah, then we can actually properly set whatever our tie rod, you know, toe in should be and all that other stuff, and then we can set this baby on the ground. Also on Friday, I'm getting a buttload of parts from Andy Birnbaum, which is like a Mopar restoration place. So oh, there must be a fuzzy on the lens here. Fixed it. So yeah, we'll get to do a lot of little stuff there. A lot of rear axle stuff, a lot of like, there's mirrors that clip on up here, other stuff like that. Just small stuff that'll really progress this along. So yeah, hopefully, as long as I'm not dead tired after work tomorrow, you'll see me out here. We'll be cleaning up wheels, getting them all prepped to go. We'll just continue down the line and keep working on it. Well, it's a few days later now here on the 39. This weekend has been blustery cold. It was, I think, actually got up to the 30s yesterday, but with snow and everything, I didn't want to take the pressure washer out on the driveway. We're gonna postpone that because I actually have 2 weeks off. It's Sunday now. I have to work a full week, and then I took 2 weeks off for the holidays. So we're gonna get a lot more progress done on this car over those 2 weeks. That being said, these can get pressure washed next weekend because it's supposed to be like high 30s, mid 40s. So that'll be a lot better for pressure washing them. I can pressure wash cars off at the same time, all that other fun stuff. So yeah, we're just gonna postpone that. It's all supposed to be cold most of this week up until like mid to the end of the week. So painting in here wouldn't have been conducive for that either. But all this blabbing and everything, we still gotta make progress on this old girl. So we ended up getting a box of parts. We got a bunch of good stuff here. We got fuel tank grommets, door hinge pins, a filler hose, this little oil hose that connects the two hard lines for the oil pressure gauge. These are rear wheel seals, outer rear wheel seals, ascending unit, which is nice, wheel cylinder rebuild kits, master cylinder rebuild kits. Those are thermostat and water net gasket things, a pinion seal, front wheel seals. This is a gasket. We got these little guys, which I'm actually gonna throw on today. And then mirrors, they like clip on either to the door here, or they clip on right here. Not 100% sure. We're gonna find out on that. But yeah, so that's pretty neat. Everything comes in awesome Ziploc bags. What's crazy to me is this package costs 50 bucks to ship. I don't know about you, but this size box and how light all this stuff is probably doesn't cost 50 bucks to ship. So that being said, I want to sort of wrap this video up today, but like I said, it's blustery cold. Not as cold in here, but it's really cold outside. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time out here. So we're going to try to do some small stuff to sort of make the day go by. Looking forward on here for the next video's sake, if that's something you're interested in. We're probably going to take these drums off, clean them up a little bit, and then spritz them with some rust converter and maybe some paint, and the lug nuts, just to help protect them a little more, at least the front face of them. I'm gonna have to label them and all that stuff. That way they're prepped and ready for wheel seals and stuff. I did also order another clamp that will hopefully work for those tie rods. If not, I might just buy nuts and jam nut them, or at least jam nut one of them instead of doing clamps. We'll see. I haven't really decided on that yet. But yeah, so those should be getting taken care of. Like I said, we'll pull brake drums off, paint them, clean them up, get them ready to go for stuff. Rear axle. I got a lot of rear axle sealing parts. I got a pinion seal. I got a diff seal. Outer axle seals, all that stuff. We'll probably start taking that apart and cleaning that up this week. So that's two things to look forward to. Obviously, we'll clean up the wheels this week. That'll be a part of this upcoming video. That's probably all I'm planning for right now. I think I have some brake hoses coming. Like I said, with that clamp. I'm further realizing we're probably not going to get done with this project by the new year, which is fine. It was a self-imposed goal. There was no reality that I needed to hit in order to drive it. It's more that I just kind of want to drive it, but obviously time and money gets in the way of you being able to complete things sometimes, but that's all right. We'll get it done. That means it'll avoid a good bit of winter salt and stuff, despite the fact that I am going to undercoat it, but be able to get done just in time that I can wait till next, whatever, pre-winter time to undercoat stuff. But regardless, I'm gonna stop blabbing, but let's start doing other stuff that'll help benefit this. So firstly, I'm almost running out of memory card space on this. These hinges on this door, I think, are all screwed up, or at least the one hinge. Wow, I didn't realize there's only one hinge on this. Oh, nope, there's two, never mind. I forgot how to count. These hinges, I think, have gotten rusted more than any of the other ones. It's kind of hard to see. I guess there is only one hinge on this one. That's weird. But this these hinges are kind of offset here. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap right there. I think what has happened is these hinge pins here have started to rot away and have caused the door to kind of a little bit. Because if you look very closely right here, you can see that it rubs on there. It's almost like the door is like kind of cocked forward a little bit where it should be back more, as you can see by the fact that, you know, this is moved like that. So I want to remove these pins in here and throw new pins in to see if it fixes it. So I'm actually going to spray these down a little bit because I'm sure they have not been out in quite some time. And anything we can do to help get them out quicker will benefit us immensely. So let that sit in there. And the next thing we'll do, we'll replace these little gaskets that go on the rear taillights. I might throw a little grease on them too. That way it makes them reusable. All you got to do for that is just take a little screwdriver and come in here and pop this little outer cap off. Paying extra careful attention to not drop the piece of glass. As you can see, this gasket's pretty wasted on this one. It'll go all the way around that, I think, unless these are external gaskets. Nah, I think they're internal. But we'll probably put a little bit of grease on each side of this. You know, just normal multi-vehicle grease. So I'm gonna scrape some of this stuff off and then put some grease on that, and I'll show you what it looks like after we're done. Because you can see right now that gasket isn't doing a whole lot, and these like getting stuff down in there and rotting out and stuff. So we'll fix that here real quick, and I'll bring you back once I have the gasket greased up and on there. All right, so here's the pad that's supposed to go on there. I thought I'd order 2 of these, but I guess I only ordered 1 because that light over there, the one is completely fine, but this one was kind of wrecked. So as you see, I cleaned up the mounting surface where the, well, maybe you can't because the sun's right in it. Whoop, can I get in the sun? There we go. I cleaned it up as best as I can. I'm not worried about wiping it off. I may have ordered the wrong thing, but there was the only thing that was available. It seems like this should be the gasket for in between this light housing and the fender, not in between the light housing and the actual glass, you know, bezel piece that goes around it, which is okay. It still kind of fits in there, and I think I can make it work. So what I'm going to do, there's that hole right there. I need that to have access to screw in that bezel and what holds the light in. I'm not going to grease this because this is actually like a hard rubber, so it should be fine. I'm going to cut this part out right here, like the very bottom, so that I can put a screw in that. And then this should fit half decently. Maybe I'll take a little off the top too, just because. But yeah, we'll just trim that up a little bit. That way we'll have a nice gasket to keep a good bit of the weather out of here. And I'm also gonna have to trim these nubs off because I think they were meant to go in between there. All right, so there this piece is trimmed up. There's still a little bit of 2 nubs on there, but I think it's gonna fit half decently. We'll see. I don't know, it's not perfect, but it'll work. So I'm gonna throw that light back on there. So there we go. It's definitely got a little bit more bite to it where it's harder to get the screw on because that gasket's there, but yeah, that should work out pretty dang well. Keep some of the weather out of there, hopefully. I plan on taking those bezels off every like 6 months to a year and cleaning out all the junk that gets up in there. I'm gonna be honest, my hands are freezing cold. I am probably only gonna try to get these pins out right now and see if we can get the other ones in and see if it fixes this door from being all floppy and weird. So yeah, I'm gonna grab one of these guys that will fit up in that hinge thing and try to pound those hinges out like a door. All right, well, we were able to get 1 pin out, and honestly, it doesn't look like it's that different in diameter to this one. Maybe slightly, I don't know, but so yeah, that might not be the issue. However, we're gonna slam that one in there, the new one, and then we'll pull the other one out, take a look at it and see how it looks, and yeah, see if it makes any difference in this door. They're slightly better. I mean, we get a little rubbish coming out, and then when closing it, you can hear that. It still rubs. But it also kind of looks like, well, you might not be able to see it on camera, but this door kind of has some slop. I'm guessing it's in the actual hinge and not the pins itself. Whatever, it was a quick thing to try to see if it would make that door a little better. I did notice, too, that on this door over here, it has a little bit of corrosion there as well. So it slightly hits over here too. That might just be because this is an old car and those are all slopped out and water and stuff probably gets down in there. It wasn't all for naught though, because looking at these now, The top of this hinge pin's fine. These are the new ones. You know, they're brand new, so they look completely fine. It was worth the few minutes of time and the you know, bit of money that it cost to try that, and it didn't work. And oh well, it's fine. So the last thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to put these little clip-on mirrors on. Looks like they come with instructions with a pad, some set screws telling you how to do it. So I'm going to try to throw these on and let you know how it goes. So these mirrors were 20 bucks a piece. You can see it. There's two set screws that kind of go in the back. There's like a little pad in the front, and you turn those set screws and it pinches it between the door, I guess. And then there's these tension screws up here, which you can adjust so that the mirror doesn't flop around. And that arm that comes up, there's also a screw in the back of that you can use to turn the arm. There's 3 screws in the back there that adjust the tension on the mirror so it's not flopping around. There's a screw right behind this that you can turn this arm up and down, which really isn't necessary unless you absolutely need to adjust it crazily. But you have to take the whole mirror off by loosening these set screws back here and pulling it off and then adjusting that screw, turning the arm, putting it back up. These are all right. They're gonna work for, you know, their intended purpose of being able to see behind you, especially on interstates and stuff. Which, I mean, I guess when this car was running around on the roads, interstates weren't really a big thing. So you really didn't need, you know, mirrors on the front to see behind you because, well, you're mostly on 2-lane road stuff. Like I said, that's just my guess. I don't know. I could be wrong. Feel free to roast me in the comments for it. I really kind of don't like the look of them, honestly. It kind of makes it look like you got big old wings hanging off of it. The worst part about it, too, is I've sat in a relative position to, you know, look and see if I could see stuff behind me. And you can adjust this mirror, right, to see behind you, but tell me one issue you see with this. Maybe you can't see it on camera, but you can barely see that mirror on the other side over there. Especially even when you're sitting down here, like in whatever seated position you would be in the car. You can barely see that thing. So it's like, well, it kind of doesn't make sense to have it then if it doesn't stick out past there. And sure, you could probably adjust that arm a little bit and make it a little better, which I might end up doing. But like, I don't know. I guess it serves its purpose. I'm not trying to trash whoever designs or makes these lights, because I think it's actually a pretty novel idea and works okay-ish, at least in my initial installation. But I don't know. I feel like it could be a lot better. But whatever. Yeah, I can't really feel my fingers or my toes or anything else, and I still have work to do outside. I was going to replace an oil pressure hose that I need for the oil pressure gauge, but honestly, I don't feel like climbing down around in there and doing that because it's so cold, and I still have to go outside and clean cars off and stuff, so I think that's a wrap for this week. I guess it would be this past 2 weeks of videos. Tuesday's supposed to warm up. I think what we'll do, like I said previously, we'll start by pulling off all these drums, cleaning them up a little bit, pulling off the lug nuts, spray painting them so that everything turns out magnificent there. Probably do that oil pressure gauge thingy, which I should probably spray that with some PB Blaster to make it get a little better. Then start working on the rear axle, getting that all taken apart for replacing gaskets and stuff, making sure that we can see that all back up. I got some brake parts coming. My hope is to start rebuilding all the brake part stuff. But like I said, next week, the hope is to paint the drums, lug nuts, start working on the rear axle, hopefully maybe mostly get that done, and then clean up and paint the wheels so that those are good to go. So we'll catch you then. Thanks for watching as always, and look forward to seeing you next week.